This is the Drummer Mindset Podcast, episode 10. I'm Joel Pereira. I sit down with Mike Holstein in his studio. He's a multi-instrumentalist, luthier, and craftsman. He can be seen and heard all over Western Carolina in different venues. Primarily, his main acts right now are Asheville Art Trio and Me Him. Podcast was supposed to have a video component. Unfortunately, that file was corrupted. I wasn't able to retrieve it. And so there's some aspects of this audio podcast that are going to be missing a little bit, but I still think it translates, and we describe it generally pretty well. And most of that's really toward that last 10 minutes or so. But I think it's still worth keeping in there because he kind of shares some of his creative process and everything. So just realize when you get toward the end, you may really need to turn it up a bit. The studio is incredible, just full of different gadgets and instruments. It's clearly a place that he makes space for art to happen. And as you'll hear, he talks a little bit about that process, about not necessarily forcing the art out, but just making space for it to happen. In that regard, too, we just talk a bit about creating without judgment, collaborating with other drummers and how it might differ from collaborating with other instrumentalists, working around and through music school baggage. We also discuss the innovation that I think a lot of drummers have that are unique in the way that they sometimes create their own solutions. If it's something that they need for different instruments they want to include in their setup, but also how to set the kit up or other instruments to be more ergonomic, especially protect yourself from some of that overuse injury that can occur. So I hope you enjoy. And don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment, and let me know what you think. All right, take care.
I always tell people, I really don't remember not making music. It just kind of, I grew up around it. My parents were playing music. My mom played stride piano at church, and there was always something going on. But bluegrass, jam sessions, just all kinds of people singing and playing guitars, and more like singer-songwriter-y kind of country. But it's
was that around
good
here?
Music. No, it's in West Virginia is where I grew up,
okay.
Charleston, West Virginia.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, I just liked it. I just absorbed. I was a kid just playing guitar or what, I played violin, fiddle when I was a kid, and all through there, I was just interested in drums for some reason. I don't remember why, but I started taking drum lessons probably, I think that was probably first grade, somewhere in there. And then I just liked that. And I always kind of played drums, but I didn't, I took other, playing guitar and getting interested in piano, violin, anything, just having a good time with it. But then I went to Western Carolina University for percussion. Mm-hmm. And I guess I got more serious. We were talking about Byron Hedgepeth earlier. Uh-huh. Yeah. I got more serious about getting prepared for that like a college program, like an audition and all that. Mm-hmm. And I started studying with Byron in high school, and that was more serious, like percussion, drums. But still, it wasn't like drum set,
And did you say in high school?
That was in high school, in preparation for that, to go to college.
Oh, okay. Were you in high school in Charleston?
Well, I moved probably, that was 10th grade. I did 10th grade at Inca.
Okay,
high school. And I was in marching band there. I'm remembering all this, and it's all coming back to me.
What did you play in marching band?
Snare usually, but I got into all that. I love all that so much, and I really enjoyed. I don't know. I always say I don't know if that's a real musical thing. It's kind of musically adjacent, like being on a field with 100 and some people and trying to make anything. But I feel like I learned so much about being precise in a line with snare and I don't know. There's something I learned about higher, faster, louder, chop. That was fun for me at the time. Mm-hmm. So I don't know, but I feel like I did have to kind of reprogram from that a little bit.
I might romanticize marching band a little bit more than other folks because where I went to school we didn't have marching band.
Oh yeah.
So and I remember the band director was really happy about that because it was like one of
It's
these.
easier on you if you're a band director. You don't have to do 2 programs.
Right, and that's a lot of work.
It is,
sure.
man. It's a lot of work.
But I always felt like, man, that it seems like when I see marching band drummers play, just their connection and it's just the repetition of all the rudiments so much.
That's
and
all
being
that
in time with each other and like really,
it's rudiments on like 11.
Right. And so so I always feel like that's kind of incredible base to start with.
Yeah.
At the same time,
and I was like teaching a lot of drum after I went to college, like I was coming back and teaching some high school drum, which was very educational. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah. Teaching, you learn a lot.
Oh yeah, you got to put it in I forget who was saying that. Like if we don't understand something, we tend to over-explain it, and it's like if you can get it, or just figure out how to tell like a kid exactly what they need to hear, how they need to hear it. Like I like that, figuring out how to explain something.
Yeah, and sometimes they'll stump you too.
Oh gosh, yeah. I don't. I like it. I like being challenged, but yeah, it's good to be rethinking whatever you're trying to like the message each time. I like it.
Yeah. Absolutely. Do you teach still?
I do. I like it. I mean, I was teaching like people weekly. I don't really do that right now, but I like to teach. People usually ask for like a lesson or maybe 2 or 3 in a row about something really specific. Like a harmony thing or I want to learn something about upright bass or something about a drum kit, like doing a bearing edge or something like that. It'd be something really specific like that. And it doesn't. I don't know. It could just be hanging out talking about it, but sometimes it turns into lessons.
Yeah, cool. Well, maybe that'll happen today.
Yeah.
But remind me the name again of your teacher, Byron.
Byron Hedgepeth. I studied with him in high school. And you were talking about like a marching program. It's unfortunate because he was teaching at UNCA, and I went to Western because I wanted to go to a marching program, and that was because at the time I wanted to be a band director, and I figured it would be more relevant experience if I went somewhere, that had a concert program and a marching program.
Yeah. And I think I just caught a video. I think you all just played, maybe it was a month ago or so, or I don't know how long ago.
In Hickory, the Jazz on Tap series.
That was, and it was a song that you wrote.
Oh yeah, we did. We do a lot of original stuff. Byron and Rick Klein is a great percussionist in Hickory.
Okay.
And he's got a steel pan program. He's got the Lenore Ryan, like the LR, I forget what that's. It's just the music school there that he's basically in charge of, like getting teachers lined up. I think there's 6 or 8 teachers there. They do all kinds of like rock camp, steel pan camps, African drumming camps, and anyway, before pandemic, he had like a 20-year run of a jazz jam at the Hickory. What is that called? The Old Hickory Tap Room. Okay. And that concert was part of that series. He's trying to get it back together somewhere. It's not at that place anymore. It was outside.
But it was a great setup. He was on drum set.
Rick, yeah.
And then Byron was
plays
on
vibes.
Yeah. And then you were playing an electric bass at that point. But yeah,
I had an upright, but it gets hot out there, and I don't know. I have this fretless that I like it, and I just play it on those gigs usually.
That sounded great.
It's a fun band, and it's good to have like it's nice to play music with people like we're all drummers. We all kind of have that foundational thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's kind of nice to lean on each other like that.
How is that different than when you play with other folks that don't really have any drumming experience?
It's just a trust level that like I feel like we can have with each other about like the time and the groove and the form, just stuff like that I feel like drummers are more, I don't want to say better at or anything, but I feel like you're trained in that, like that precision kind of thing you're talking about with like marching. Like we all kind of have this foundation of that. So yeah, I think there's a trust that doesn't necessarily materialize in every group.
Yeah. Well, and most of the times that I've seen you play these days, it's on the bass guitar, double bass or upright or,
And I've got that it's like a bass and a guitar, like a Charlie Hunter type of thing. That's like both. I like doing that.
Do you gig at all on percussion? Or?
I mean, I do. I was going to say like Jason Moore and I have a fun project, the Me Him band. And it was before pandemic. We were just kind of playing, duo, trio, whatever together, and then we kind of developed into this kind of, somebody would say it's like a 2-man, 1-man band thing. Like we both have drums and stuff, but we just kind of make music together and try to find. I think we're just trying to find art together, man. I don't know what's going on with it, but we just really push each other in the right ways as far as like trying to find. I don't know. I think we're both interested in electronic music and making it sound more like acoustic music, maybe.
Interesting.
Or
and how long is that? Has that always been an interest for you?
No,
No,
not at all. It's all new stuff. And I think Jason was more into it in school, like in New Orleans. I think he said he did more of that, and then he kind of stopped. And I think we both have, I would call it like jazz baggage. Like you get kind of, or whatever class, just like being told what you're supposed to do in school. I think we both have had. We've talked about that some, and like it can be really. It can really like make music not fun in a specific way unless you're able to find. I think you have to find your way through all that, and I think that we've used this band and project as a way for both of us to like just try. I think we probably do what's like improv comedy. They call it like yes and like you just don't like we just do it. There's no judgment. I think we both try to have that going on, and it's really nice to have a place where you can try things like that. And I play the drums on. He hasn't been bringing drums. He was playing drums as well, but I'll take the kit to that, and I've taken some just normal percussion drum like kit gigs with just a kit. I like doing. I mean, I would like to do some of that more.
I'm gonna maybe do a little bit of a tour right now, just with the camera, just so we can kind of get a sense about what we're.
Sure.
I don't know if this is a representation of your brain necessarily.
Well, some of the mess probably is.
But I mean, I guess over here especially. Like,
and this is new. I'm always kind of like changing this around. Like this was on the other kit, and now I think this kick drum sounds better. So I don't know. I'm always kind of tweaking this and trying to find.
It does sound great.
I like that little one too. I mean, it's just a matter of like trying to figure out what fits what better, and I don't know.
And then some keyboards and stuff. A lot of work and play happens in here.
Yeah. I feel fortunate to have this space to just kind of like spread out a little bit and try some things and, make a mess and kind of try to keep it clean. But, I think you have to have a space where you can break some stuff, man, Yeah.
Yeah, a rage room.
I think some people think it's like, oh, today I will make some art. And I don't know. I just think you have to sneak up on it sometime. Or I do. I can't like plan for art today. I have to kind of just make room for it and see what happens.
Is it easy to lose time in here?
Some
track of time.
Hopefully, yeah. That's the goal. I think it's not when I'm up here and I notice like I don't know what time I'm like, oh, okay, that was meaningful.
Yeah. And so, and I'm also interested in how you maybe approach coming up with some music, or if you have like certain songs that you write, and kind of how it comes to you. Yeah. Because I kind of consider this, multi-instrumentalist, it's like speaking a lot of different languages, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, it can be, but I think the good, like the really good songs I like of my own that I've written, they just kind of come all at once. It's like they come almost certainly quicker than it takes to perform it one time through. Right. It's just, and I can't. It's like I have to record it into something or write, so I don't forget it because it's just coming. So and then I'm not even really thinking about it like, oh, am I writing the melody? It's not that. It's just all there. Okay. And that's nice. And it's rare. Sometimes it looks like work. Sometimes I might just like write something bad. I don't care. Just write something every day and then you end up with something. You know? I think that's what can like frustrate you or make you stop is if you try to write something good. I don't know who said it's like, if you want to write a good story, you write a bunch of bad stories.
Right.
You know, you just got to write and not judge it, you know, because it's kind of like that improv comedy thing. I'm trying to do that with myself where it's like, I'm just doing something. I don't have to ever listen to it again. I don't have to show it to anybody. It can just be what it is right now. And maybe I get something from the experience. I'm going to get something out of it for sure. Even if it's like, that's what I don't want to do.
It's been my wife's like favorite pastime for the past couple of years is improv. And so
improv comedy?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, and improv in general. So it's not always comedy, and sometimes it's musical improv. So they'll do singing and stuff like that. But, you know, I think it really challenges. It's challenging, and also it seems like it's just a practice in being present in that moment.
Yeah.
And accepting whatever is happening in that moment. Like you said, yes, and, you know, obviously there's still some rules and things like that, but it's pure play, you know, and that's
totally. I mean, you can impose rules on it, and why not?
Right.
But yeah, I think it's different when you're trying to think about setting some parameters, like, oh, I've got this, I don't know, with this like electronic stuff, sometimes I have like the harmony of some sort. I like working within, I think I work better within like certain parameters, like being almost limited to certain smaller things, and then I can try to make something bigger out of little parts of, you know, like I can whittle it down to a couple of things that it's kind of like a rule, like you only have this to start with. Yeah. I like that.
Yeah. The structure, kind of provides something that you can either break or try to fit within those confines.
Yeah.
See what's there. So jazz baggage.
Yes.
Or jazz school baggage.
Yeah, and I didn't go to jazz school necessarily, but I had like some definitely percussion school baggage. Like going to Western, it was more of a classical percussion program, and just wanting to just play and have, you know, make music, learn. I remember wanting to play marimba, and it was like, oh, there's only 3 people in the world that get to play marimba. You know, you're not going to get to do that. It's like, well, why are we talking about this? I'm really excited. Like I don't know, did you do like 4-mallet stuff?
Only cursory. So like that stuff for me was in high school, and I was primarily on snare.
God, I wish somebody had showed me that in high school, because I got in college and somebody was like 4-mallet grip, and I was like, oh man, watch out, because that was like, I was like, what? Yeah. And then it was like, just to have my bubble burst like that, you know, it was like, why are we even talking about it if we're like, why would you get me excited about it if you're not going to like let me, you know?
I know. Yeah. Show it's like, it's pretty. Yeah, it's huge.
Yeah,
it's taking up so much real estate in the room.
I know.
Oh, but you can't look at that.
Yeah, you don't get to don't even think about doing that for, you know, a living or fun, or, you know, you can't do that.
Yeah, that's only for serious.
Yeah,
people.
That's only for 3 people on the planet.
Right.
I don't know. I really like that Kiko Abe. All those pieces are. It's a relatively new thing too. Like
really,
marimba literature. What it is. I mean, it's all relatively new stuff. Yeah, it's cool.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I've been digging on that a lot lately with the vibes that we've talked a lot about since. Did you play on that at all?
The vibes? Yeah, we'll have to break out this. I have a Deegan one-nighter.
Okay.
It's really, it sounds great.
Yeah.
You'll have to check those out. They're sick.
Okay, nice.
Did you know that guy, Joel Pulver?
Uh-uh.
He had a shop in the woods in Burnsville, and I bought those at his place. But you could go out there with like, I went with a couple of different people. You could just show up.
I've been there. I got a Tama set from him. Yeah.
You could just trade anything. He's really, I mean,
I didn't know
left.
his last name, but
He left.
Yeah.
He
I think he was already
gone
when I got my kit there. So someone else was kind of running it for him.
Yeah, could have been, as he was on the way out.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's where I got that. And I've went with people, and they just like take a bunch of like their stuff from high school and trade it and get a kit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, that's where I got that. And it's like the Deegan, I think it's from I don't know if it's from the 30s or not, but it's kind of been around. But you can like get in with a set of vibes and set up. It's like for pit, you know, like a theater gig or something.
Okay, all right. Well, so percussion, but you were still playing a lot of different instruments. During college. Yeah,
and I played even like in the marching band when I was in college. I played bass. Like I started playing bass in college there, and I played bass in the marching band even there. And then I started playing upright bass there, and got more into jazz. And then I was just like, I started having these like crisis, like what am I doing in school? But I wasn't doing great in school anyway. And I dropped out and started playing music. And that was more what I needed to be doing at the time.
So you started gigging right at that point, like making money playing music.
Yeah.
And can I ask, like, how long ago was that?
God, that would have been, that would have been like 97, and I was probably gigging before 2000, pretty regularly, 2000-ish.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was definitely doing like paying gigs, but it was after 2000 when I was able to like make rent and everything on my, really.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I tried to move to Seattle in there at some point.
Yeah.
Didn't work out.
Yeah. And then were you in Asheville at that point, or were you still?
Yes.
Yeah.
My parents were in like Weaverville. They were living in Black Mountain. But I've always been nearish Asheville.
Gotcha. And then you play with a lot of folks at Little Jumbo. What is that like?
That's a great place. Do you know Jay Sanders, one of the owners? I
know of him. Yeah, I haven't met him yet.
Plays like Chapman Stick, and he plays bass and guitar.
Was he? And he played with the Acoustic Syndicate.
And gosh, I want to say something like Donna and the Buffalo, but I might be making that up.
Okay.
But yeah, definitely Acoustic Syndicate. He is a part owner there, and we were roommates.
Okay.
I don't know, years ago. So, yeah, and I play there. Usually it's Justin Watt that sets that gig up for me, and there's a band called the Asheville Art Trio. That's Justin and myself and Bill Bears, and usually I play bass in that, like really more traditional, like acoustic bass. But this Monday I'm playing there with Jason Moore and Justin. It's going to be more, I don't know, kind of a mix of, we call it like rigging. It's this rig, a mix of some of this stuff and who knows
there.
what.
I'll be there then.
It'll be fun. Probably it'll definitely be that hybrid, and Jason bringing what I don't know. He's got some really nice like quick ways of grabbing harmony with the saxophone. That's pretty impressive sounding. He sounds like an organ. Not even. It used to sound like an organ. Now it sounds like 5 saxophones. He's just kind of ramped it up. It's really quite nice. But I don't know how much of that he's going to bring. I mean, he might not bring it there.
So you started gigging regularly and making music in Asheville in like 2000. Were you traveling much?
All the time. Yeah, that was, you have to drive like 1,000 miles a week out to Charlotte. And I was talking about Bill Gerhardt, who was a mentor. He was living in New York around that time, and I met him probably like 2001, somewhere in there, 2002 maybe. And he was coming from New York, and had connections in Charlotte, had lived there, and his dad lived in Asheville. He was taking anyway. He got me connected in Charlotte with a bunch of gigs, and I was just driving and playing everywhere because that's you have to move around.
Yeah. Wait, and what about now? What is your travel?
Less. I'm working. There's a singer, Holly Hopkins, I work with a lot over in like the Lake Norman area, and she's a great vocalist, and I play mostly the hybrid guitar with her. She's open to all kinds of different stuff, and also like trio with her and that guy Rick Klein I was talking about.
The other drummer or percussionist as well. Yeah.
And she's open to any of this stuff too. I can do that with her if the venue's right for it. I do a lot of stuff with her now. Like I'm working with her Friday, and so sometimes I work with her a couple times a week, but that was really before pandemic.
Yeah. Gotcha. Well, so I keep coming back to the percussion baggage, right? Like how, and so it sounds like you switched. You kind of navigated that by switching to bass.
I switched to bass in college, really, and I loved it. It was so much fun. The upright bass, especially. Like I don't know, I just didn't have any. I didn't really listen to jazz until I was playing it, which was fun. I mean, I think it meant more to. I kind of wish I'd heard it, but I don't know. I think it was meaningful and important, and everything happens when it's supposed to happen, so whatever. But I really took to it. I really liked it. Like it was just big and like, I don't know. And I think the fact that I could like keep time, just, because I had like a percussion band, I think that helped me be able to do it well and be higher, hireable.
Yeah. I mean, that relationship between the bassist and the drummer already, it can kind of, it's so important and central to the feel of the band.
To get, like I could hook up with the drummer.
Yeah. And I think too, at least from my perspective, just as the drummer, never really got much into the melodic playing, though I did play trumpet early in life, but just how much you learn how to kind of get out of the way of this, like of the snare hit here, or like how much you actually want to follow along on the bass drum with the bassist. You know,
yeah, totally.
People have different perspectives on that. You know, like you got to be right there with each other the whole time, and sometimes not. But
definitely got to be a team of some sort,
right?
But yeah, there's all kind of ways to do it.
Yeah.
Have you met Sonny Thornton? He's a great percussion drummer, musician, I should say, down in Greenville, South Carolina.
Oh, okay.
And I don't know, I just swinging, playing with him on drum. Like I always say, like he's not really like a percussionist in the way, like you know, if you would see him playing like a roll, it might not even, you know, but he's just music, and it just comes out of him the way he's playing, like with a band. And I don't know, I used to play with him, Bill Gerhardt, and it was just like instant reactions of, you know, music. Just, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing to work with somebody like that. But yeah, making music instead of necessarily complicated drumming. I think, you know, there's people that can hook up musically in a rhythm section doing things like that together, and I don't know, you end up being greater than the sum of your parts, or what, you know, working together like that.
Yeah, I was just having a conversation with someone. It was Evan Martin and I, and then another.
Evan's
musician.
One of those drummers, by the way. He's
very
greater
musical.
than some of the parts.
Yeah. And just you know, the one musician had the question. He's like, "What's more important, playing groove, like a drummer that plays groove, or is musical?"
I love those questions. Yeah, it's cool.
What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's case by case, right?
Right.
It's just so like contextual, and it's probably good to do both.
Yeah. And I guess, I mean, the trick answer would be, well, if you're being musical and the music calls for a groove, then you would be doing that.
Yeah, right.
You know, if you're listening.
Yeah.
And you can kind of figure that out. But yeah, I think too, like in the gentleman was, you know, he's been playing for a really long time, like several decades. And so he was talking about how it seems to have changed throughout his career. You know, is there any paradigm shift that you've seen in music and perspective on that stuff just in your career of playing?
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is like?
I mean, I was just thinking about how, you know, you see more, you know, used to be just upright bass gigs, you know, upright bass players. I don't think that's as much of a thing. I think you see more, right now you see a lot more electronic stuff, which is cool. And you just see like, maybe like, you know, singer-songwriters gigging with loop pedals and stuff. Why not? I don't mind. I think it's cool. You know, I think that just the Asheville scene has changed a lot just in the past 5 years even. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, styles kind of come around, don't they?
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, I remember talking to some people like, I wish I could remember this guitar player's name. He lives in Atlanta, but he was talking about, he played in Asheville in the 80s, and I don't know, what he was talking about wasn't so different than what I'm dealing with, you know, but I'm certainly, there's different things going on. Like Asheville was all boarded up.
Sure.
I mean, it was nothing, and now it's just, I don't know, it's amazing.
One of the things, and I don't know if this has just been my perspective, you know, but it definitely, there was a certain point in time where I always felt like, yeah, you're just kind of keeping the beat. Like you're just solidly there as the metronome in a lot of cases. And you get this unique opportunity for a fill every 8 to 12 measures, depending on this style, and take it now, you know. And like, I just remember, and I was watching some video of myself not too long ago of when I was like in jazz band in high school. And I was like, my dad sent it to me, and I was like, I don't want to watch this, but I watched it anyway. You know? And I was like, yeah, I mean, I'm keeping time. I'm keeping like pretty good pocket here. My fills need a lot of work. Yeah. And I just remember that, like, just getting so anxious about this fill that I only get this amount of time to really show off or do whatever, you know. And now it just feels, and maybe that's an age thing, or maybe it was a time thing, but it was like, you know, now it's like, well, no, that's not your parameter. Like those aren't, that you don't have to live by that.
Right.
You know, like you can, you know, people talk about backbeat fills and things like that, but also just learning the touch and like learning where you can get away with something and where it could be helpful and all those kinds of things. So maybe that is more of a maturity thing.
I think so.
But
and just staying also, in the, like being in the band you're in,
right,
and like making sure that there's definitely like the difference between like doing the job and then not doing the job, you know. What were you talking about earlier, Dan? You said something about Jack DeJohnette.
Oh, and I'm trying to remember if he was the drummer, but we were talking about setting up, like, just ergonomics and like how that changes, and sometimes with, you know, different drummers to try to, I think that guy
is specifically pretty out, you know, Jack DeJohnette. And I love it. Like, I'm here for it. But there was some, I wish I could remember who it was in Charlotte. Like, they hired him, did a session like in New York, and it was something they were like, oh, we can't play with you. And he was like, yeah, you know, just mute me in the headphones. And they were like, well, yeah, but we're paying for you to be here. Like, he was like, no, just mute me. It'll be easy. And they just muted him and played their thing, and it sounded great. But it's, you know, it's because they were like listening to him for timekeeping. You know, he wasn't doing that. You know, he was like, but I like that he was like, yeah, you got me. I mean, I'm not gonna.
This is what I do.
I'm not gonna like keep time for you.
Right.
But I like that he was cool about it too and had an. But yeah, I mean, that would probably be a place where, you know, you'd be wanting them to keep time. You know, you'd probably be like, this is my session, man. You're supposed to keep time. Mm-hmm. But, you know, that ain't what.
If you're going to hire.
Yeah, if you're going to get Jack D, you got to let him get loose. But, I mean, I don't know. I think that gets to the thing, like, especially with like jazz drumming, I think that the drums don't have to keep time like that as much as, you know, the bass is really the pulse of the time.
Right.
And then I always say like the drums are more like the electric guitar in rock and roll. It's kind of like, you know, looser, and that's what he's doing, is just floating over that. Yeah.
And I think there's a lesson kind of about that too, looking at your kits. And you've got like a 16-inch bass drum, and a lot of times you will see like smaller kits like that for jazz, and it was to kind of get out of the way of the bass guitar. Yeah. To give it the low end, because that's like where the
upright
lowest
can get soaked up so quick by the kick drum. Mm-hmm. You know, the upright bass.
Yeah.
If you think about like that one thing, it's like if just a 22-inch kick drum is like as big as it, and you just got one foot on it, it's just like boom, and everything, it wipes everything out.
Yeah, it's a lot of air.
Yeah. And I think that if you can get it small, and I always said it's kind of more like a floor tom. Mm-hmm. You know, it's more like just an extra floor tom. Yeah. You know, what's that dude? Ari Honig, is that who I'm thinking of? He's got that kind of like real high, everything's real high pitched. Mm-hmm. It's just like it's just part of the time. There's not even like a bottom end like that.
It seems like it like in a lot of ways frees you up as a drummer.
It could.
You know, if you're not, so one of the things that we've talked about on the podcast before, but is how much responsibility a drummer has with being, you know, such high end with the cymbals that can bleed into so many different mics and like take over the guitars, the acoustic guitars especially, or the horns, and you need baffling or whatever, to like the low end covering up even the bass drum, and so you're putting a lot of energy into the room. So it's a lot of responsibility, but it does seem like kind of getting into jazz, like freeing up a little bit. Going with smaller kits allows you maybe a little bit more freedom.
And if you tune them higher too, they like, you know, it's generally like out of the way quicker. Mm-hmm. You know, it's a quicker, less sustain.
Right. Or kind of like here, you have a pancake kind of a setup here with the bass drum.
I like the pancake.
Yeah. Yeah. And it gives a good, nice tone and kind of gets out of the way.
And the pancake works better for this like electronic thing, I think, better than the smaller like bebop kit or whatever. I think it has more like what you're saying, like more bottom.
Yeah. What kind of blocks do you feel like there have been? And you mentioned the percussion baggage, but anything at this point that you try to break through or?
Yeah, I mean, it's always that kind of like self-judgment thing, right? Like, what is it, imposter syndrome and all that. I mean, I think we all kind of deal with something like that. I guess we all, I mean, some people just sort of, I think I heard like a Kelly Clarkson doing an interview, and she was just like, I don't know, it just sounded so effortless for her to be just herself, you know? And sometimes I kind of think about that would be, and not that I don't want to be myself, but it's so, I always feel like there's some judgment or just all self-judgment. Yeah. But yeah, trying to get past that and just be in the space and make music and like be myself.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I think it seems like a lot of artists are very self-critical.
Yeah. And I want to be self-critical to a point where like I'm always kind of looking and trying to learn. But yeah, I don't want to be shutting, like when you sound like a block, like shutting it down. I don't want to do that. I want to be able to like turn that off and float, made it fly. Try to get music happening.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it feels like sometimes with the inner critic, like it could be louder than any external critic.
Yeah.
Do you ever feel like it helps protect you from the external criticism?
I'm sure it has.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's why it's there, I guess, right? You build up whatever, and it's like it helped somewhere along the way.
Right, like it developed for some reason.
It did
right?
something.
Right.
But yeah, I don't know. I always, I'll be playing, and especially when I was like just starting to play guitar, I would see like somebody sitting there, and I'll be like, oh, I'm sure they hate it, or they're judge. They don't care. And if they say anything, they're like, oh, it's never like that. But it's every time it comes up, I'm like, I'm doing better at it. But yeah, it's hard to just recognize that and be like, that's actually not happening. Like this is, I can just be in this bit. Everybody's on my side.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is a welcoming, like everything's fine.
And with your friend Jim.
Jason.
Jason.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you. Jason. And you said that when you all get together, it is just like open, like you're.
Yeah.
And do you find that with a lot of other players too?
I can't. Yeah. I'm definitely looking for that. And yeah, totally.
Is there a way that you tap into it if you don't know a person, or it's a new gig or something like that?
It's almost like a language that you could, like, you mentioned Quinn. Gosh, I'm forgetting his last name. I wish I could. He just moved here from New Orleans.
New Orleans, yeah. Another bass player.
Great bass player. And he was just here today for a session, and, we got loose.
Yeah.
Nice. We didn't have to, and I guess that's where it's at. It's like, we didn't talk about it. You just
did it.
Yeah.
Yeah. He seems like he's a seasoned
He's really
player.
Quite good, yeah. But he's got some. We played some of his original, played some of my originals, and we did some of this too, and it was really.
So what were you
nice.
playing? Was he primarily on bass when you all were here?
We played a couple of basses, and then I played guitar with him for a minute, and then I got in this rig. And he was playing some of my guitar. I have like a 6-string. What is that? A bass 6 that's tuned like a bass, but it's like a guitar. And I was letting him check that out. Gotcha. And the like Charlie Hunter-ish one I have is like 3 bass strings and 4 guitar strings. Yeah.
Gotcha. And so it seems like out here too, like you're, pretty rural here. Mm-hmm. So you get all kinds of sonic space out here.
Yeah, I love it here. I mean, that's my right.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah. It's a nice view.
And there's a great gig in town. It's the Spillway.
Okay.
Is a venue. I don't know. I've gigged there. They pay well.
Nice. I'll have to check that place out.
Yeah, it's
too.
a good. I don't know. I like it here a lot.
Yeah.
I would have never thought. Like I met my wife, and she owned this property, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna have to move in the woods. I like it a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Earlier, before we started recording, you were talking a little bit about some of the pains and stuff like that you get too, and you can kind of find it at the kit. Like, can you speak to that a little bit?
Oh,
more?
like physical? Oh, yeah. Like, I saw a physical therapist in Marion here about, some guitar specific thing, but it's not, I get it just trying to set at the kit, and like, I don't know, I can get crossed up in my leg position trying to, get a kick drum going.
Right.
So I don't know. There's all kinds of stretches I try to do, but it's really like loosening this and tightening that. Or on the legs, it's the opposite.
Right. Yeah. There's some connection from the upper to the lower, and especially if you're sitting down at the kit, that is easy to kind of.
I want to sit down there, and I mess around with the height of the stool some, but I don't know. It's. What do you have like your thigh like level? Or like a little bit above. I like being a little bit above.
Try to get over 90 degrees. One of the things that I'm just kind of accepting right now is that I change my stool height frequently.
That's good.
And sometimes within
that's probably
session.
Better, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Mm-hmm.
That's something I'm experimenting with, and you see all these different rules of thumb and stuff like that. But also, I've had a drum teacher who his foot is kind of torqued. When he plays, and he's like, don't do like me, but right. It's like everyone kind of finds their way.
Yeah.
And I think part of his thing, he's gigged in jazz clubs in New York for the past decade. So he's used to really small areas. And so he's got, a different kind of way of playing.
Yeah. I played at one of them up there, and I got kinked up in the jazz club up there.
Yeah.
Trying to play bass.
Yeah. And so he's like, don't do it this way. And so one of the things that's just something I try to be mindful of. Is so I'll go from sometimes 95 degrees
Yeah.
And sometimes it feel like some people will sit down on it and they'll feel like they're standing up almost.
Yeah.
You know, I've tried that.
I like the higher up, but then the other things get weird.
It really does.
I can tend to, if I get too high, and that's not good.
And I took a couple of lessons from Alan Hall, another local drummer.
I work with Alan a lot. Alan,
excellent drummer.
Yeah.
Yeah. He can do it. He seems like he has a lot of freedom on the kit. But he's trying to help me kind of figure that piece out. He's like, if you want to learn jazz independence, which is what I was there for, it's like I want you to prioritize the hi-hat, and so change it up on the bass drum. I want you to, put your heel down all the time. And so that was, changing my brain, changing a lot of things. But I just still found myself kind of twerking and leaning, and it just felt weird.
Any heel up or down, like I do that too.
Yeah.
It's easy to get off center.
And then if I'm doing that too, like I push the hi-hat back or forward, depending. So it's like, depending on where I want that power to go.
Yeah.
So I guess hi-hat closer means I can get more speed and precision with my bass drum, my right foot, and then vice versa.
Yeah,
is the case
totally.
too.
Probably keeping moving is the way to go. I've got these. I'm gonna move around for a second. This is kind of relevant. I've got this kind of shaped guitar that I've come up with. Is that in the?
It's in the shot. You've built this, so yeah. People, I don't know if we mentioned it before, but you're a luthier.
Yeah, I studied with Brad Nickerson building instruments, but this was kind of a shape where with a strap, it really is. I have a really good, you can see, that's a really good playing position. But also, you can there's not just one.
Right.
That's what this was kind of about. I feel like there's some ergonomic guitars that are you get one place. But I was thinking, for me, it's I want to be able to figure something out. If I cross my leg and get something like this going on,
right.
I want to be able to play comfortable-ish like that.
Sure.
Too, and be able to move and have, I don't know.
Yeah,
4
multiple
or 5.
positions.
Yeah, because I think staying in one position is bad.
Yeah, I'm seeing more and more too guitars sitting down, and I'm like, yes, we should all be paying more attention, because I imagine it standing up all the time with the guitar, and maybe it's again
standing up with upright bass was so nice though, but you can there's some habits you can get like this. I don't know.
And then there's this band, the Fearless Flyers.
Yeah.
And so I've never seen it before, but they had these stands that their guitars and stuff were on.
Yeah, I saw that.
And so they would just walk up to it, and you'd see them kind of adjusting, all the knobs and stuff to change that up.
Why not?
I thought that was brilliant. Yeah,
why
absolutely. Not? Keeps you playing longer, Yeah, I remember
electric guitar is relatively new too.
Right.
What is that, the 50s, 40s?
Right. Yeah, I was just in Nashville and went to the museum and saw it. Yeah.
Oh, you saw the log?
Yes.
Yeah.
It was insane.
It took him Les Paul was 7-8 years convincing anybody to look at that thing.
Yeah, it looked weird.
I love it.
Yeah.
It's one of the most iconic American pieces of any technology we have, and it's
totally.
It took him 8 years to talk anybody into looking at it. Get out of my office.
Yeah. But massive, and just all the, even just the more modern ones, Les Pauls and stuff like that, they just look heavy.
They can
for
be.
a lot of people, and then if you're a kid learning that and you're not exercising.
Oh man, and
things.
drum set ergonomics for a kid, I don't know, man. It's. Whew.
Yeah, my 7-year-old is learning to play right now, so we have something more like that set up, and it's still kind of we've got this snare drum that's kind of kicked way back. And it's all just a little different.
It's hard. And talking about the throne is so important. This is some, I don't know, it's just light. This is what I take a gig, but it's some good,
good foam.
That I've just reworked, and that's the same thing. It's got really good foam in it.
Yeah.
But those rocking socks are the deal, man.
Yeah.
I would, if they were just lighter, I would be gigging with that.
Yeah, I got something that's kind of similar, the motorcycle type seat. I think it's a DW, and I'm not certain that it's better than anything else.
Yeah.
Any of the round ones or anything.
Oh yeah.
I think it all comes down to what's in that cushion and how, and that's where I was maybe you should get the hydraulic one so you can shift your height.
I like that one. There's one with There's a rock and sock one that's, I think that's the way that's what I would have if it was lighter.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so I used to do a lot of mountain biking, and that was one thing that you would put a primacy on. It's like, okay, well, where are you coming in contact with the machine? You need your pedals, your saddle, and your grips, and that's the stuff that needs to be dialed in for the individual. And so often with drumming, it's just like, it's just a drum set. You sit down and play it. It's like, no, it's millimeters matter.
Oh yeah, we were talking about Byron Hedgepeth. He was working at, what is that, Musicians Workshop on Merriman. He was working there, like he was talking about, like, back when before Rock and Sock was a thing like that. He knew that guy. Like, that's a local company. They're in Waynesville.
Oh really? Rock and Sock is
Waynesville. Is that maybe like Maggie? Anyway, yeah, they're made over there. But he said that guy was coming into Musicians Workshop, kind of like Les Paul trying to sell that law, and that they were, back then you buy a drum set and you get just like a crappy whatever, and just that's the way it was. And that guy was like, "There's no way, nobody's going to ever buy." And he was like, "Fine," and because he was offering them like exclusivity on it.
Oh wow!
Because he wanted help, He didn't have any. He needed help, and that's I don't know where it went from there. But Byron just said that guy came in there, and it was something like that. I wish I could remember the details about it, because I'm realizing this might be like not exactly accurate, but it was like, we don't want that thrown. That's never gonna. It was like that. Like, that's never gonna work. And now it's like one of the. It is. It really. And not only that, I think it really helped what we're talking about, like people finding like more ergonomic
and
solutions.
The whole industry changed and started modeling after them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's important, man.
Yeah. Yeah. I went to, and speaking about all contact points too, like I went with a longer footboard pedal.
Oh yeah. With
this idea, like I've got big feet. I was like, this is what I need. But
maybe not.
Maybe not. Because I get on my shorter one and I'm like, ooh, yeah.
I know.
I've worked on it, but also like you've just got to throw so much more weight because of that leverage.
Yeah. I've got a short one. So I've got a couple of short ones. I got a Meinl short one, but I don't know.
Yeah. You just have to try everything.
This is such a cheap one. I bet it's just light. I'm gonna try to leave it. My friend Victor Motsis, I was talking about.
Okay.
He's with King Garbage.
Okay.
Really good drummer, but he just like has a pancake of a thing, and he leaves like the tom and the pedal on it. It's just like that. No cases. It's like in and out, man. It's nice. I like it. I'm gonna try to. That's what that's about. Just.
So he leaves it on the kick.
Yeah.
I thought about that when I was coming over here. I was like, I just want to leave the mics on the stand.
Right? Why not? Why not?
Yeah. Just put a sock over it. You're fine, right?
Yeah.
That's all you need.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe I'll start doing that. And maybe that'll be the next rockin' sock.
Yeah. It'll be a thing.
Yeah. Do you have any other guitar builds or drum builds that you're thinking about?
Well, I'm working on a lot of instruments I need to be working on. I've got some of those hybrid like bass and guitar instruments in the works, and I've got a couple of like electric upright basses. I'm going to try to I want to kind of try to improve that paradigm if I can, to make a really nice, I'm calling it like a bar bass, or like, if you know what a 335 is. It's got like it's a guitar with a block in it, but it's hollow to some degree. I'd like to make something that solves that problem, and it's like not as delicate, but it's still kind of acoustic and fun to play, and you could play it with like loud drums and be it would be fine.
Any Future Man type machines that you want to build?
Well, I would like to. I'm doing this thing. I don't know if you. It's a Roger Lynn instrument. And I was calling it like a. It's basically like a guitar-shaped keyboard.
Okay.
Like it's laid out in fourths. But you also get things like you can hold two notes down and move just one, and you can control. It doesn't have any sounds in it. That's another synthesizer. But all the shapes are like bass shapes. Or guitar. It depends on how you want to think about it. But all the shapes of a guitar just work on here.
Okay.
And I would like to have this in some kind of more of an acoustic instrument, and I don't know what that looks like. Like a Chapman stick of a thing, but I don't know. I don't know what it is. I don't know. But that's something that's like on my mind, of something to solve this problem of trying to play like bass and not bass, like bass and some kind of lead while trying to play drums, or I don't know.
There's something that I'm hunting for here with this podcast. I really feel like there's some, I don't know if it's just a different way of thinking, or what we would in the industry call neurodivergence with drummers. And there's like some innovation that comes out of that perspective.
I totally agree. Specifically with drummers too, isn't it?
It seems like it. I mean, because like we're talking about the position of everything.
Yes.
And you're playing so many instruments at once that it's like it requires you to start thinking about, not just the sound and how it, your stage set up with the other players, but like you've got a community of drums and instruments there with you.
And it really is like mixing a lot of, even just mixing a snare and a kick drum is really like two different instruments, man.
Yeah. And I think the other, like, I spent a long time a few months ago really trying to tune everything just how I wanted it. Started just like going down rabbit holes, trying to figure that out. And I was trying to, is there a possible way to isolate the snare drum from the bass drum, or maybe tom 1 tends to cause some like sympathetic resonance.
See, I went the other way with it. I put Radley stuff on my kick drum.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's kind of what I learned. Someone said it's a drum set.
Yeah, go with it.
The snare drum is always going to talk.
Yeah.
It's like the heart of it. So like it's if the snares are on, it's going to talk.
Oh yeah.
And that's kind of the appeal of it, and it's kind of what makes some of the character of it too.
It's like a whole
and
like
an
an
orchestra. Then I could start like letting go. Okay, I was like, there's not a specific frequency I can find that it's not going to happen. And if I did find it, it doesn't sound good to my ear.
Right. It's almost like you've isolated something that was going sympathetically that you wanted over there in the snare drum. Yeah.
Exactly. It's like how you shift that or this, like it affects everything else. And so sometimes it just comes down to acceptance of like,
totally.
Yes, and like the snare is resonating right now, even though I didn't.
And I'm going to go with it.
Yeah, and I'm still going to hit this bass drum. Yeah.
And I feel like this. I'm trying to play like, I'm trying to get like bass and play drum. I feel like this helps me play that hybrid instrument with the bass and the guitar together. I think this all kind of helps me. Because like we were talking earlier, it's like a brain game. Yeah, I think more so. I mean, my body can do it. It's just I can do the things individually or whatever. It's not that. It's not like I'm going to practice, and it's never that for me. It's always like trying to figure out how to get my brain to do it. Because if my brain's not on it, it won't happen.
Yeah.
But I think this helps me with that, and I'm trying to like, not necessarily like something like that and be playing drums. And if I'm able to do this on one instrument, I think that's a lot easier than trying to like. I think it's easier to put that on the guitar from if I'm trying to spread it out over this. It almost seems easier. It's better than like trying to practice that instrument, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
If that makes sense. And I think that's a drummer specific thing. It's because I've had things spread out and having to figure out where things go and how to put it together.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Totally. Just looking around, like there's so many
other little
instruments. Yeah, that you've built too. Just some of the the clackers.
These clackers, I wanted to mention the guy. He's in Winston. I hope I'm not messing up there on the camera.
No.
Tim Roberts.
Okay.
Tim Roberts.
Oh, okay.
He relayed this big, nice cymbal for me.
And really?
He redid these hi-hats. They're so great. But he's just like able to... He's making cymbals too, but he's able to like relay instruments. Reverie.
That's Reverie? Mm-hmm. I've heard of that.
Yeah, he did a real good job.
Okay. Yeah, I've got a very... I don't know. Sometimes... when you start thinking about modifying cymbals, I start to get a little worried. But
if you already don't like them, that helps.
Right.
You know what I mean? I wouldn't be like, oh, this is 90% there. But you could talk to him about it.
Yeah.
But I didn't like any of this stuff. That was like I had that cymbal in high school, and I liked it because of that. I was like, oh, this is sentimental. Totally. And these hi-hats, one of them, the bottom hat was from that, and then my top one my friend broke. But I ended up with like another... Sabi, I can't remember. Maybe an AAX and then just like a Nor. I can't remember, but he just lathed those into a nice set, and they're killer. He got him like exact like we talked about what I might like, and it was just that's what he
got
me.
it.
Yeah,
he just figures out the math and the feel for him. I got to meet this guy.
And he's got some really good YouTubes. Like if you have those, what are those like new beat hi-hats that everybody kind of and they're just kind of thick.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's got some YouTubes on relathing some of those into some really nice, really lower like more musical sounding hi-hats.
Nice. Oh.
And then if you're going to get $600 hi-hats, you might as well pay them a couple $100 to straighten out some you're never going to use if you're never using them.
Right. Right. Yeah, they get so expensive now.
Yeah, I mean, I think I would have paid $500 or $600 for some hi-hats to replace those.
Yeah, easy.
Yeah.
Right now, I've just got a couple of crash cymbals, like 16-inch crash cymbals, and they sound great.
Right.
They're just they're darker cymbals.
Are you riding on those two?
Yeah, you can kind of ride on them. You can kind of crash on them if you keep the top one loose enough, and it's also got a splash cymbal underneath to provide a little bit more structure to that lower hat. And it sounds really great. It sounds really great in my studio. I don't know how it would sound on stage.
I was gonna like that guy makes some of these too. Tim Roberts has all kind of these clackers and stuff. Yeah.
Does he develop his own stacks too?
I think so. I haven't checked his site in a while, but I think he has all kind of cool, just custom one-off stuff too.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Oh, he does these like. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine.
This is one that I bought.
Oh yeah. You could throw that on a drum or anything. Yeah. That'll change the vibe.
You got a snare with it.
Yeah.
You can kind of use it like a little tambourine, but not really.
Yeah. Nice. Well, do you think we could get a little bit of you playing on the instrument and the drums?
Sure. What I've been doing is like adding some sound. I won't do this, but it's like adding some samples. And this is like a. You fill up my. You fill up. You fill up my. It's like a John Denver tune. You know what I mean? So anyway. That's part of what I've been doing. Nice. And you can mix this in with it like, you can be like, all that together, but this really lets me get away with like trying to. Let me see if I can show you what I want to do. It's a harder kind of. Is that too loud?
That's perfect.
If I can get away with doing a lot of this stuff like one-handed. Like getting any kind of swing happening with it. It's hard to but like that that isn't bad. The other part's easier, I think, but it's like trying to figure out how to, like what we're talking about, like marry all this together and end up with. Really, I'm trying to
squish the grid a little bit, you know.
Yeah, and I'm trying to play like almost bass-ish stuff and like melody stuff. I don't know. It's hard to know like how to fit it all together. But yeah, that's the plan. I mean, it's easier if I can just like. Oh, what is that? That's something that Bill Bears. This is his thing. It's not mine, but he mixes like it's Caravan and this Radiohead song together.
Oh yeah,
like,
yeah, I've heard that.
Trying to match all this and like keep track of that. Sometimes this is too loud, you know.
Yeah.
That's the trick. And getting any kind of. Fluidity with any of that happening, and keeping some kind of a. I don't know.
What I can't get over too is with that instrument. Yeah. It's all flat, or is there any indexing on it? Like, is there any bump at all?
It's got like some.
Okay. Know, yeah.
Kind of, but I try not to. If I try to just be where I can, you know. I try to. This is how I practice it. Because if I can do it without looking, I think I get more musical generally.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
There's also some like you can do some tricks like that's using like a delay as like a it's like a dotted eighth. And it lets you be like less. I put less.
Right. Less
input. I get like twice as much input out of that. Just that's almost like, you know, it's as complicated physically as like that. So if you just put that down here. With, you know.
Yeah. How long have you been working on this?
Well, I mean, even just like.
Let me ask that again. How long have you been working on this?
Even just like pandemic was really when I started just trying to be, because I didn't really do drum set when I was studying percussion before. So I was trying to use, like, pandemic was about me trying to get my left foot independence together. You know, be able to, like, I don't know. Any of that kind of thing. Like, I just didn't have my brain around that. Yeah. And Vic DeMozis helped me out with a lot of it's just like having like some independence of that and being able to. But that was like early, you know, right at the beginning of pandemic, and then Jason Moore and I both were like, we were just like, no more keyboards. You know, nothing shaped like a keyboard anymore. It had to be, you know, grid.
Yeah.
More of a guitar shape.
Yeah.
And then I got into like trying to use these launch pads for that. Mm-hmm. And an instrument was one of the things. He has a different thing. It's the A-Ray, the Embody Me A-Ray Touch is what it is. And it's a lot like this, but you can hit it with sticks.
Oh yeah.
It'd be nice to have both.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I was thinking about getting more into electronic stuff, and especially like maybe considering like they do the vibraphone kind of electronic pads and stuff.
Cat. There's also this dude is really reasonable. That's not a couple $100, and it's MPE, like multi-polyphonic expression. You got USB out, and it's all.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. And I was using that here-ish and triggering samples with it. It's fun. I mean, I just don't. I'd say like I have to thin it out. This is like less stuff than usual. It's just I know it's a bunch of stuff, but it's like. I can get my mind around this, and I had to take that out for a minute to get my mind around this.
Gotcha.
Yeah. But those are, if you just want to like dip a toe in the hitting.
That's the way.
Hitting things for MIDI. I don't know. This is great. I mean, when I was in college, we used to try to like do rolls on MIDI stuff, and it was just terrible. This track's great.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Awesome. Well, thanks. Let's see. What we got here.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't know how well the mics have been picking up voices.
Oh yeah, during that part.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thanks for the exhibition there.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And
it's
so
fun.
This is a similar setup to what you'll have on Monday.
Well, probably not. Because Justin plays drums on that. I'll probably play my hybrid, and Jason will probably have some of this kind of stuff going on with his sax. Okay. On that gig, and then when we play
with his sax, does he also have like the barometric MIDI stuff going on, like the synth sax stuff?
He's got one of those. I don't know if he'll bring it, but he's got one of those.
It sounds like an exploration.
He's got an Iwi. I forget which one he's got, but yeah, he does a lot of that. But he just has a really. This is all pandemic stuff we got sorted out because he was using like a microphone which sounded great, but he got this. It's called an intra mic, like inside the mouthpiece of the saxophone, and it really helps him like isolate from other things while he's trying to make loops or add effect. Because it was always a problem, like you're talking about cymbals bleeding in.
Yeah.
Everything bleeds in.
Yeah.
But this helped him like isolate, and it sounds great.
Nice.
Yeah. But he can like and it's like 3 or 4 people.
Wow.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, he might do some of that Monday. But we'll do something rig like. That's what we're talking on gigs. It's like, what rig are you taking? And it's like we take. I mean, this is all kind of modular. Like I don't have to have this looper. I can have not as much of this or just a normal kit or whatever. Yeah. Yeah.
And it also looks like you build a lot of your platforms and stations as well.
Yeah, just trying to solve problems and get things that are like easy to carry and set up to. Like this kind of goes into its case, and the case is its stand and that kind of thing. Figuring that kind of stuff out.
Yeah. Yeah, that's something. So woodworking is something I kind of tinker with. It's more of a DIYer, like cabinet stuff, things like that.
Yeah.
And but I haven't done it in a long time, and like the latest thing was just building, just acoustic panels and things like that. But I always struggle, like when I have the time, because that goes into the music.
Yeah, I know.
It's like I also want to just play.
I know. I know. We call it like hardware mode. It's like sometimes you just got to tear it back down and start over. But yeah, it cuts into the actual art part.
Right. But it supports it at the same time.
Yeah,
so
I like it.
It's a balance.
Like when I was getting this is kind of maybe like 2-3 weeks ago. This was all kind of new, and then this all got added in since then. But I was just kind of savoring like this. I just really enjoyed trying to solve this and figure it out, because it's new that I have the instrument on my lap all the time. Yeah. It was on the floor tom, and then I was trying to come up with a stand for it. I don't know. It's always something like that, like just trying to figure out how to juggle everything.
Yeah, for sure. Cool. Well, thanks so much, Mike.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.